Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Shafali Agrawal, and I'm the moderator host from MyDream TV USA for one of its kind panel discussion in regards to MA Senate elections. I'm accompanied with a group of very accomplished members who will be focusing on some of the topics that are of great importance to American people. I'm particularly very excited to welcome Mr. Joe Patrick Kennedy, who will be joining us in the middle of the discussion to provide his perspective, the importance of this election, and his candidacy. So let me begin by introducing our panelists today. And I'm very excited to talk about some important topics that are very essential today for American people. So let me start with Geeta Patil. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm Geeta Patil and I work for biopharma industry here. And during my weekends, I just cover Indian events for local newspapers. And I'm interested in other like publishing, whether the popular articles or scientific articles. And I also do other hobbies like painting and writing poetry and short stories. Mhm.
Amazing. Welcome, Geeta ji. Let me move on
Thank you.
to Ashok ji. Ashok ji, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. I'm Ashok Patel, live in Massachusetts for the last 25 years. Involved in hotel real estate development all around Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and very enthusiastic cricket player. We're very active in the sports.
Wonderful. Welcome, Ashok ji. Let me move on to Hugh Ping. Hugh Ping, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm Hui Ping Jan. I'm currently working at biotech industry. Actually, I'm a colleague of Dr. Shefali Agaway. I am Vice President of Regulatory Affairs at Epizyme. And on my spare time, I'm an avid beekeeper and U.S. master swimmer. I'm very looking forward to this discussion. Thank you.
Wonderful. Welcome, Hugh Ping. Let me move on to Rakesh ji.
Hello, good evening, everyone. This is Rakesh Kausari. I am the Joint Secretary for the Indo-American community, and I'm a socialist and the active leader as well. And professionally, I'm a cloud solution architect. And apart from that, if it comes to the sports, I'm the good cricketer where I play for MSCL here and planning to play for the US Cricket Association as well, hopefully. And apart from that, I work for the non-profit organizations where the veterinary families I help and old age homes, deaf and dumb schools, and the blind schools. And hopefully, I'll do more in the future. And yeah,
That's
thanks for giving me this
wonderful. Welcome,
opportunity.
Rakesh ji. So let's move on to Rajesh ji.
Thank you very much. My name is Rajesh Singh. I am a retired environmental engineer after working for 33 years in the environmental industry with expertise in hazardous waste cleanup, wastewater, water, and climate control. I have been involved in several social organizations, and one of the most active participant in one of the organization called They See Blue. You might have heard they're supporting all the Democratic candidates in all over the swing states, most importantly, but other states as well. They're very active in swing state particularly. So I've been acting with, working with those folks to make phone calls to the swing state people who are registered Democrat and ask them to go and vote. One of the studies indicated that if all the Democrats who have registered as a Democrat, if they vote, most of the Democratic candidates will win very easily.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I have a track and field. I was a track and field person for a long time, but I've retired, so I don't do that. My regular activities are going to gym and working out.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. So a little background about myself. I'm a medical oncologist by training, also chief medical officer in a biotech company. I am part of My Dream TV USA, and I love this. I think this is a great way or platform to talk about some of the issues, political issues that are important for us as a community. So let's start this exciting discussion. I'm going to start with a question about education. I feel like education is so important for us as a group and for our future generation. And knowing, one of the goals here is to talk about the candidacy for Mr. Joe Kennedy. And, being a young leader, we have talked to him. We have seen that how passionate he is about education. So give me a little bit perspective about education and what you guys feel. One of the questions is, how do we keep our schools safe, and what is, how do we get funding for our future generation? So let me talk to Geeta. Geeta, what do you think about it, like in terms of education and future generation, and how do you keep these schools safe?
I think we need more funding, federal funding for opening up, many educational programs for adults as well as children. And we need to have more scholarships for like a middle class or lower middle class students to go to higher education and all that. And as Joe said in his speech, that he supports this idea, and he is going to work with federal government to get more fundings for opening up new educational programs in his constituency. So that's why we are so excited to vote for Joe and get him elected.
Yeah, I know, that's great. I know, as a young leader, he's amazing. Anybody else has any perspective? Anybody else wants to say something about education and your thoughts? No. So I think overall education, I feel, is it's a baton that we need to carry, and that future generation is dependent on us. We need to make sure, first of all, I think it's important that we keep our schools safe. We hear incidents every other day about shooting in schools, and we need to do, whether it's gun control or other things, that we need to keep our schools safe. And if our future generation safe, we can give that baton to that. And then the other issue is the whole thing that we hear about is funding. Public schools programs that they need, whether it's food, whether it's education, books, computer, virtual environment. Computers are very important. So I'm hoping that Joe, as a candidate who's very young and understands the need of young generation, will be able to support that. And I'm very excited to be able to support Joe Kennedy. So let's move on to the other one that is actually a big one to me. What's healthcare? And we know that the healthcare cost is increasing, especially in Massachusetts. Actually, I'm very proud to be part of the state because we have this great insurance system that they cover everybody, and also we have the Affordable Health Care Act, and I know that Joe has spoken very clearly that he wants to support Affordable Act. So let me go to Hu-Ping, and because you are related to healthcare industry, do you have any views about affordable health and healthcare?
I really think as advanced society, we should provide healthcare to everybody. That's a symbol of a ultimate advanced society. I think we need to help people who cannot afford, and I'm totally support of universal healthcare.
Yeah. Anybody else you want to say anything about healthcare?
I absolutely believe that healthcare is an important issue of today's world, especially living in the U.S., especially in Massachusetts. We are blessed, as a matter of fact, with a great healthcare system. But I think not enough is being done throughout the country, right? So we need to continue to support Joe Kennedy and his vision regarding how we can bring Massachusetts-style healthcare throughout the United States.
Absolutely. Very well said. What are some of the things that you feel that still need to be done in healthcare? Is there, I feel like one of the biggest things is, insurances are very expensive. People still can't afford actually healthcare, although, like you said, Mass is actually much advanced. Anything you feel that needs to be done? And I know Joe talks about making sure that, we can do research in basic science, make drug available for many of the therapies, decrease the cost of the drug, many of these things. Any thoughts on that?
I firmly believe. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, go ahead. That's fine.
Shefali, this is Hui-Ping. I think we could learn something from countries not too far from us, like Canada or European countries. I think we could certainly consider a single-payer healthcare system.
This is Rajesh. Just want to make a point. One of the accomplishments that was achieved was that by Massachusetts healthcare, there were 98% people a resident of Massachusetts covered, which was amazing and which was it was almost like a universal healthcare. However, the goal was to reduce the cost also, in addition to having coverage for everybody. The cost has not decreased since adopting this Massachusetts healthcare system. And there are lots of ways to reduce the cost. I'm not trying to be critical, but I think the second goal of reducing the cost has not been met, and legislators should work on that in order to assess, evaluate and implement how to reduce the cost of healthcare.
Yeah. Geeta ji, you had to.
Yeah, mental health is also a big challenge, and we should get more funding for opening up mental health programs and centers everywhere, and it should be affordable. That's also another challenging thing in healthcare.
Absolutely. Rakesh ji, you were saying something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Geeta ji already mentioned. But yeah, Joe is working really, really very hard on the mentally challenged people and the disabled people, where he is going to, he is going to invent a new rule, a new action on that, so that we can get the more funding, and it will be available for the families, those who are suffering a lot.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. Mental health, especially we saw that in COVID situation, that mental health has become such a big challenge. And we hear, we have interviewed many of the psychiatrists, psychologists that talk about how people are struggling being at home and, all the challenges that you have. And I think although it's a taboo and people don't recognize mental health as a big issue, but it actually is a big issue.
Yes.
And it relates to day-to-day life. So I think it's a big deal that we still have to figure out. But I think one of the things that is a classical example that we need to be prepared better. So we saw that COVID response that we had as a country. I don't think we were prepared at that point. So we need to make sure that we actually are ready in terms of any acute illnesses or things like that come up, right? Any thoughts on that?
Yep. So as a cloud
Rakesh.
engineer, we are working on the medication where we can get into the doorsteps. So that's a very big project where we are targeting by in a couple months. So if that is going to be happen, then yeah, the people who are suffering, who are mentally not fit, not good, then yeah, things will be go to doorstep for them, and they can get the treatment. And insurance is going to cover for entire process. So that is a new proposal what we are working with the insurance companies and the different organizations on that. So, but we are getting very good response on that. So hopefully it will be implemented very soon.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, hopefully we can get more drugs. We are prepared better. The cost is less, and then we are able to provide insurance to many of our folks who need it. Let me go to a topic that actually, as an Indian community and also Asian community, is very important to our heart: immigration, right? And I think it's become a big, understanding that we all are immigrants here. We all have come for some way or the other, whether ourselves or our parents or our grandparents, some way or the other, we are immigrants. And I think it's still we are trying to understand what's a comprehensive, immigration reform. How do you actually do it? What are the policies? How do you decide? How does executive decision versus state decisions happen? So, what are your views about current reform? I'm going to start with Rajesh ji. What do you think that the current reforms from immigration are?
Yes, very important issue for the entire United States of America, and it's been talked about for years. I'll just focus on one important point. The Supreme Court recently ruled that Trump administration's attempt to abolish the DACA, the Obama-era program protecting the Dreamers from deportation, they ruled against it, the Supreme Court. However, the court's opinion may have unforeseen consequences for the Constitution and the balance of power of the executive branch as well as legislatures. I think the Supreme Court ruling created a dangerous precedent for executive power. Supreme Court basically said that Donald Trump cannot undo President Obama's decision on DACA because he did not follow the Administrative Procedure Act. It was the Administrative Procedure Act. They did not rule out that the constitutionally Obama's decision was not enforceable. That is something I felt that there is still
Work need to be
Court
done.
can make they can push this another one more round, and they can still make another decision. And that is, to me, it feels like the challenge to the court by the current administration, and overlooking what was done in the past, is giving too much power to the executive branch.
Yeah, I think it's overall, just trying to be not biased. I think going back to Joe, what I feel with Joe Kennedy as a candidate is that he is so connected to Indian community. He's in every program supporting us. I particularly have met him in person as well, and he just is very supportive. He's been to India, actually, I heard, for a couple of months as well, and also a very humble person. So when I look at, I completely agree that we need reforms and we need lot of reform communication, really. And I feel Joe will be a great candidate to help push that message of immigration. So I know Rakesh, you were saying something. I know.
Yes, thank you for giving the opportunity, Shobhaji. So I would start with this USA country is a great country, and it is made stronger, richer, and better by the contribution of all the immigration families. And at the same time, like if you see from 2017 onwards, within this 4 years, oh my God, this administration created like almost like 400 plus executive actions. This is really very surprising, but it is 400 plus executive actions on immigration policies. If you keep that, if you keep that continuing, then yeah, so it would be creating a very big problem for the immigration policies. And I would say that we should like block this kind of horrifying agendas, whatever it is coming. So to that, Joe is doing really amazing things. And from the beginning, Joe was like, advocate for the labor rights, working justice, and he always support for the employee protections. And also he was the legislation to raise the minimum wage beginning, right? Yeah. And the other most important thing is like he's so smart, so energetic, and a young leader, where he believes that he can make the lot of changes in the immigration system, and he gave a lot of things. If you see within like couple of months, he wrote a lot of letters to the White House, and with respect to immigration policies, what are the changes are happening, and how it will impact to the immigration system, where the minimum labor, whatever we are doing now, it's going to be impacting a lot. And within couple of years, it's going to be like making a lot of changes in the country, and it will bring down a lot of things because of this. Yeah. So he gave a lot of things. And at the same time, I would like to add last thing where he just want to reform with providing the citizenship for whoever is working here, and want to give the equal rights for the immigration visas, those who want to work here.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Geetaji, you were saying something.
Yeah, new immigration policy should be based on the merit or the qualification of the person than the country-based quota. That's what I recommend. And at the same time, America has big dreams, and in order to realize those dreams, we need qualified, a highly educated labor force. That they need to work on that, so that America becomes stronger nation.
Yeah. Yuping, do you have any thoughts about immigration? What do you think?
I agree with one of the previous a commentator saying that immigration makes this country great. It's the very essence of this country, and that's what our forefather has seen this envisioned for this country. I was looking at Joe's issues and issues he supports. Totally support him with his comprehensive immigration laws.
Yeah, thank you. Ashokji, any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I do echo everybody's comments regarding how important this issue is. And obviously, as we all know, that America is the great melting pot. And if anybody studied American history, you will know that it is immigration that has helped the American economy dig itself out of a great recession, the Great Depression, whichever prior economic issues we've had. Because when you have positive immigration, that brings in the ability for people to get a job, get production going, buy goods and services, buy real estate, buy a car, buy health insurance. So it is absolutely important. I think there's one of the easiest way to get the American economic engine on its full speed is to bring about meaningful immigration reform that can bring the right type of people to this country, right? Because we want to have the most productive and highly qualified folks in our country so that we can continue the great American ingenuity.
No, absolutely. I think immigration is so critical. We all are, basically people who immigrated and worked hard. And I think America is a land of opportunity. That's why it's called. And we came here, we made our families, we are doing well. And I think hopefully we can help other people who are smart people can come here and do that. But I personally feel that the reform is really needed. And I think Joe would be wonderful to get that reform. We need to still work on it. It's a it's a work in progress, and help the new students or the new immigrants in every way to support the economy. And that takes me to the perfect question as economy, because I think that is the crux of our. I mean, every time we talk about America, we talk about economy because jobs is very critical. So let me move to Rakesh ji and start with you about what are your thoughts about jobs and economy, and how do you think Joe will be able to support that?
Yeah, so coming to the economy, if you see now in this pandemic, like still a lot of things are ups and downs, but Joe is working really hard to make it happen. Like in his perspective, like even though this pandemic is there, so economy is going to be more impacted. So to that, Joe is working really hard and keep the things stable, and he want to had some new economy rules and new economy orders. So by that we can get the new employment where we can give the new opportunities to the right people, and now the jobs are really going to be impacted, so he's working on those steps as well.
Yeah, no, wonderful. I mean, I think he's, as we were, like I mentioned, as I had got a chance to talk to him, he's a young leader. He supports that we need to get more jobs, we need to get people, and job is linked to, like Ashokji was saying, in terms of many economies. So let me talk to Ashokji, because I see you as a small, these small businesses, because you're a business owner and many businesses that way. What do you think is the impact of economy, and how is the change is needed, Ashok?
So, the last few months has been a real devastation, right? In terms of how small businesses are trying to survive. Hospitality sector, the food and beverage sector, restaurants, small, hair salons, small dry cleaners. All these guys have been impacted in a very, very bad way. We need somebody like Joe who can understand small businesses, who can understand the fabric of small business, where single families are running these businesses. And we need somebody like Joe, who is young and dynamic, to get us back in the game. We need meaningful aid to come to small businesses. We need meaningful loans in terms of the government to give small businesses to survive the pandemic, and obviously help to flourish in the future.
No, that's absolutely well said. Rajesh ji, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, economy is what I think we all are over here because of the good economy in the United States, and we have all done well, as you have stated. Right now, because of COVID, we have seen a nosedive in our unemployment rate of 10.2% and just at the current level. I think Joe has a vision to create economy by also, again, it's one of the part of the environmental part is to get rid of the fossil fuels and work on green energy and clean energy. But not only just that, there are many other ways we can increase the opportunity, not just by tax cut. I think there are some people believe that tax cut increases the economy and people will contribute back, but then there is other school of thought that says no, you can tax other people and you can still benefit by that. So I think Joe is one of those guys who believes in developing economy, and he's not one of those just go with tax cuts and get the rich people get the maximum tax cut, and that's how it will increase. So I think that's a wonderful idea that he has.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the economy. The recent polls showed that 70% of the Americans think that's the top priority right now, especially with COVID situation. And Geeta ji, you want to say something? Yes.
Yeah, and airlines and the tourist industry, they are very much affected. And in order to bring these industries back into business, we need to have tax concession for them, because they face a lot of loss during this pandemic, because there are no airline industry is working and tourism is not there. So it needed in some some areas, and tax concession is not needed in some other this thing. They should balance, and I think Joe is very much going to support this idea, based on the what economists they bring up, policies for the country, like.
Yeah, no, I think we need to get up. Tomorrow is the day to help Joe to get that happen. Tomorrow is the primary. We need to all get up and go there to
Yes.
vote and help him and get this young leader appointed. We are very excited about that. So let's do that. Please go and definitely vote tomorrow. It's important. So let's move on to, I think, something that you were alluding about, environmental and global warming. Let me start with Huping. Huping, what do you think about global warming? Do you think there's something like global warming? First of all, we hear different views. And then the second thing is, if there is, I know Joe talks about renewable energy and he's very much supportive of that. What do you think about that?
Yes, I'm totally, I'm a scientist, and I believe in data, in publications, and global warming is a fact. It's there. No denial. We can't deny it. It's here. So we have to face it. We have to make this world better for our children, our grandchildren in the future, and creating clean energy and decrease carbon emission in the air, everything. It not only creates jobs, right, to a earlier point, and it also helps make this world better, and to the point, like makes the USA better.
Yes. Rakesh ji, what do you think about Joe's contribution in this?
Yeah, so when we had a meeting with the Joe, he brought up a very great point, and I added a thought to him, like the green revolution, whatever we are doing, whatever we need to do as part of that. So he is encouraging the farmers as well, and he is encouraging the farmers loans, how exactly they need to get, so that we can increase more and more green cities, and at the same time the energy perspective also, the to reduce the carbon and everything. So he's working on a couple of other projects. So his thoughts are really amazing. He's a great personality. He's very intelligent, very brilliant. So we should support him. And yeah, that is my view.
Yeah, no, perfect. Anybody else on global warming?
Yeah, I'm an environmental engineer, and I've worked on this, so this has been my passion. I believe in science and data. Exactly. We need to believe in science and data. There is a school of thought that says, no, the global warming is naturally occurring. But that's not true. Science has proven it is because of the human activities that it is the temperature is rising much faster than normally it was in the past 100 years compared to the last 100 years.
Yes.
Climate change is a concern.
Yeah.
An example, the Clean Air Act of 1970 served as a fitting example.
Yeah.
People didn't believe in Environmental Clean Act and EPA formation, but they saw that. And the Clean Air Act of 1970 served very well. Because the Clean Act, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency set standards for all kind of pollutants that can be emitted into the air. Factories, cars, trucks. Ambient quality was set for pollutants. The objective was to improve the air quality and to protect the ozone layer, and it served the purpose very well. The Air Quality Act served the purpose very well. Today, we have learned so much from it, and nobody is against it. Because earlier there were people, no, this is normal, we have grown up. But today, people do not dispute that fact that people have reduced lung disease because of less air pollutant. And those who live next to factories, they have more exposure, they tend to have more sickness. This has been proven over and over again. So the lawmakers, and including Joe, who has been very progressive thoughts about this, lawmakers must give some thought about the rules and regulations. It has to be fair and cost effective. We can't just go on one side and put tons of regulation because that will impact the economy. So there has to be a balance. The problem, everybody takes the balance in a very different way. And the whole issue of balance is so subjective that it swings from one end to another. And
to the other, yeah. Absolutely. That's very well said. Thank you. Definitely shows your great knowledge in this field. Geeta ji, you want to say something else?
Yeah, along with Joe, we all support like a Go Green, and it is not only like US makes policies, but it should take into account the natural allies, and it is like it's a global what we are talking about environment or global warming and all that. It's not happening only in here or in any other country. So it has to play a role in influencing its natural allies also to join hands and work together to make a green energy and green environment for everybody.
Yeah, no, that's very well said. Thank you. I think let's move on to the next topic, and this is a very important topic, and we've talked a lot about it. Is social injustice, and how do you? I mean, it's defined many ways, right? Do you talk about sexual discrimination? Do you talk about race, ethnicity? And it's very prevalent right now in terms of how do you define social injustice and how do you actually say equal human rights? And although the word says it's very simple, it says equal human rights, but it's not easy, right? Because there are a lot of challenges, and it's not it. What social justice means is that you actually give respect to each individual, but we are not able to, kind of define that in different ways. So let me go to Ashokji and ask him, what do you think about this, social injustice, and what needs to be done?
I believe that us being Indian Americans, some first generation, some second generation, we are so glad that the forefathers of our country in the US have fought so hard to bring about the change that we need. I feel like in the last 3 to 4 years, we've gone back another 50 years of progress, right?
Yeah.
Social injustice. I think that people's mentality towards how one should be treated based on anything, right? Whether it's sex, color, their understanding, their mental capacity, all those things come into play. In order to have a more balanced world and a more balanced America, everybody needs to understand that people need to be treated with respect, and obviously everybody needs to have that understanding built in. To me, the most simple thing is that we need to focus this issue at home, right? I think we need to start teaching our kids how do we become more respectful to society.
Yeah.
And if everybody can answer that question and it's done, I think the whole mentality of this issue can change, right? All the clouds can disappear. And Joe, being a dynamic young American leader, I believe he's the spark that can lead a generation of parents in making sure that they can teach their kids the right values.
Very well said. Thank you, Ashokji. Rakesh, you were saying something?
Yeah, it's amazing, Ashokji, what you mentioned. Yes, to add to that, Ashokji, like, yeah. So, apart from, I mean, house, like there should be a small subject for the school and the college level as well, so that people, I mean, students, if student revolution is started by these kind of things, then the next generation and the coming generations will be really good with respect to these topics. And yeah, Joe is doing really great. We went to the many of the schools, and I mean, doing this kind of survey where we have these kind of topics or not, or we have any social knowledge kind of things where we are encouraging students, the college students and the young generation students about this topic. And he is doing really great in that, because he added one of the great topic where he introducing like to the school level and the college level, this kind of discrimination should not happen. So yes, I support for that, and my thought on that.
Okay. Geeta ji, you were saying something?
Yeah, I mean, Joe's family, like Kennedy family, is known for fighting for, like a social against social injustice, that is happening in the society. So I just think, like, we should not have that favoritism or nepotism or having an idea of supremacy and all that. We should keep those things under control, and we should start respecting everyone based on their merit. Like a selection should be done, and that is what we have to teach our kids, like respect everyone around you. Like,
yeah. Yuping, you have any thoughts on that?
I totally agree with the previous commentator's position. I think one thing I feel personally very important for us to make sure our younger generation do not have prejudice against any different people or different color or sexual orientation. Or this is education, right? And so we can see that coming. Our younger generation. I feel they're doing much better than us, our generation, and I'm very proud of them. Education is a key.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So, let me talk a little bit about Joe then. So Joe, he's Joe Kennedy, a Democrat candidate running for U.S. Senate for Massachusetts. He's been serving as a U.S. Representative for Massachusetts in the 4th Congressional District since 2013. He's dedicated his career to social and economic justice. He's fighting for the basic dignity of every American family and a politics that is inclusive, representative, and fair. He's a former Peace Corps member, legal aid volunteer, and assistant district attorney. Joe has worked tirelessly for people most at risk, most marginalized, and most in need. Over his 4 terms in the House of Representatives, Joe has emerged as a national figure in the Democratic Party's most pivotal debates. He is just amazing. He has worked for civil rights. Joe has become one of the important, powerful voices for moral clarity. He's born and raised in Boston. He's a local guy. And Joe received his undergrad degree in management science and engineering from Stanford University and his law degree from Harvard. He's a rising political leader. We all need to get our hands together and be there and go for vote tomorrow and support Joe. So I'm very excited to have a message played from Joe, who has give our message to our viewers. He's very busy as the primaries are tomorrow. So let's play that message, please.
Economic justice gets to the core of why I am in public service and to the inequities we see across our Commonwealth and around our country. The median net worth of a white household in Greater Boston in 2018 was $247,000. Yet for a Black household, it was only $8,000. We have to address the massive inequities and the structural inequities that cause them. If we are truly going to have a more prosperous Commonwealth, we need to ensure that that prosperity can be achieved and shared across the board. That is the core of my work, and I hope to continue it in the U.S. Senate. This is a profound moment of racial reckoning for our country. For over 400 years, the United States has failed to reconcile with some of our original sin and the legacy of human bondage. Instead, we have codified that inequity through our laws, federal, state, and local, and we are still dealing with the inequities that permeate throughout our society. This must be at the centerpiece of all of the work we do going forward to ensure that truly, one day, we will be a place where not only all are created equal, but every person gets access to that American dream. The 21st century can be the century of the United States and India and the strengthening of that relationship that has brought our nations close, but still with so much more work to be done. The unification of values behind the world's largest democracy and the world's oldest democracy, to fight for human rights, to invest in our people, to understand that innovation and creativity and entrepreneurship will power that next century and our next generations, and what we can do together. Nothing would make me more proud than to be able to continue that relationship in the United States Senate.
Thank you. So great message from Joe. It was really we are very thankful to him to provide that message and be part of this debate. And through us, we are able to convey this message. So I want to kind of thank you all for being part of the panel. But before I move and we kind of close our panel discussion, is there any topic from the panelists or any questions that we need to address? So are there any questions that we can answer?
And Dr. Agarwal, sorry, I just joined right now. My name's Avinash. I was a college classmate of Joe's at Stanford. As you saw, Joe recorded some videos for us. There was also a greeting he made specifically for the Indian American community. And then he's written some incredible letters on Indian Independence Day that this community means so much to him. And I just want to kind of vouch for his character, that I've known him for a very long time, and he's one of the most kindest, gracious, compassionate people, so genuine. As kind of as you were reading his bio, like, he started off working on global poverty issues at the United Nations, and then spending 2 years in the Dominican Republic as a Peace Corps volunteer. That kind of genuine desire to make a difference and improve humanity comes from his heart. I cannot thank enough for everyone's support and voting on Tuesday for him. And just, yeah, as his former classmate, I just wanted to kind of pass on how much I vouch for his character and his integrity. So thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for coming. I'm sorry, as we were discussing, what do you think, as we were talking about these topics about, social injustice, education, younger generation, as well as, immigration and Indian community and connection with Joe. What do you think, knowing Joe so well and so close, how do you think he'll contribute? I want the Indian community to know so that we can all go and vote for him. How do you think he'll help us in that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can spend 20 minutes on this.
We are here, absolutely.
Yes, we are here.
And listen, I mean, part of it is it's in his blood, right? I mean, this started generations before he was born, where his grand uncle and that special relationship President Kennedy had with India on the foreign policy side, and helping in the Indochina War, and to the Indian American community and the battles that his grandfather and granduncle fought in the 60s for immigration reform, right? I mean, before the immigration reform bill of 1965, there was a quota on Indian Americans and South Asian Americans, right? Only a couple hundred people, and so this relationship he has with India and Indian Americans predates his birth. It's in his blood, he wrote a very, very powerful on immigration. He wrote. President Kennedy book on immigration was re-released a couple of years ago, and so Joe wrote a very, very touching foreword that was published on Time Magazine, and so I encourage all of you to read this. If you just Google Joe Kennedy, Time Magazine, and immigration, it'll come up. But it was in the heart of kind of the time when this current administration was separating children, and so he put that human face on immigration and how great immigrants are for this country. And then on the foreign policy side, as he's actually, I think this was in one of the clips. As he's fond of saying, kind of the oldest democracy in the world's largest democracy. The 21st century cannot be successful if they're not strategic partners. And so, and on the youth side, I mean, that's what he's running on, right? One of the things he's running on is that, listen, we have these people in the Senate. His opponent has been in the Senate for 50 years, House and Senate for almost 50 years. And so it's time for the next generation. It's time for the youthful enthusiasm and representation that his opponent spends most of his time in the suburbs of Washington D.C. doesn't represent the people of Massachusetts and Boston, as you so eloquently said, is where Joe has grew up and where he's raising his family, and that's where he is, and I see the toll that it takes on his young family. I mean, he's got kids the same age as mine. He's very young, two very young kids, but that back and forth between DC and Massachusetts he so passionately believes that the people of Massachusetts deserve representation, deserve a representative who lives there, lives among them, and especially the underserved and underrepresented, communities like ours that deserve that passionate representation, and so I'm very lucky to call him my friend. And I think Massachusetts would be very fortunate to have him as their next state senator, and this election's gonna be close. And on Tuesday, our community can literally make the difference, and And so he's excited. His team is excited for the Indian community to represent the Indian American community.
And so a little bit more about your role, and of course you're his friend and being a classmate. Are you helping in his campaign or contributing? I just wanted to understand, people to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm purely a volunteer, right?
Yeah,
I have my own life and career here. But yeah, when we saw that the selection, that Joe was running, a few of us got together and are just kind of helping get out the vote, fundraising, things like that, organizing. So yeah.
So I hear from you that it's very critical for the Indian community actually to get out there on Tuesday, vote for Joe, get him elected, because as a young leader, he will take that baton for us as an Indian community and actually shine that. And as a young leader, I feel whenever I talk to him, like I said, I had an opportunity to meet him. He's this amazing, pleasant person, very down to earth, and also very supportive of science. Like I being a doctor, I always say, okay, we need science. We need to be better prepared for things like COVID. We need to do many other things. So I feel he's an amazing leader and will be able to take there. So I would like our viewers to really go out there on Tuesday and support Joe, as he would be a future for Massachusetts. So with that note, any other questions, any other discussions? If not, I want to thank all the panelists, Ashok ji, Rajesh ji, Rakesh ji, Geeta ji, Yupik, and then also, of course, Agastya. Thank you for actually being here and saying something for Joe as his friend. And I don't know, maybe I got your name wrong, but I want to make sure I got the name right.
Yeah, Avinash, and the pro science thing. I mean, the guy's an engineering major from Stanford, so
exactly right.
Yes.
So thank you, Avinash ji, as well, for personally coming and vouching for Joe. So let's go on Tuesday and vote for him. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, just want to add one last thing.
Please.
So Avinash is really amazing things he's doing. I don't think so when he's sleeping, but oh my God, all the time on the emails, on the time on the WhatsApp.
Yes.
He's like amazing guy. And yes, all the volunteers are working really great. And yes, our hero, Joe, will be going to elect as a Senate. And hopefully we are making the success party again.
And I think we need to make sure we actually go there and support them. So let's do this. And thank you, everybody, for being on this panel. Thank you. Thank you, Avinash.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.